we're the underdogs. I'm Jordan Brenner. That's Peter Keating. And Peter, as we look ahead to this Giants-Cowboys game, you have a team playing absolutely terribly in the Cowboys the past 2 games. But oddly, if you look at statistical evidence over time, that doesn't rule them out here. So if you look at favorites in a game, and the Cowboys are favored by 4.5, who come in on at least a 2-game losing streak, the Cowboys have lost 2 in a row, with 4 days off between games, like they have here, those teams are 28, 14, and 2 against the spread, according to the Action Labs, covering by an average of 4.2 points per game. That group includes last year's 63-21 thrashing of the Raiders by the Chargers. So, Peter, is history convincing you to back the Cowboys minus 4.5 here?
Well, it's convincing me that something's going on with the short week where teams playing badly don't have it count against them. Now, let's be clear about just a couple of things. The Cowboys have been outscored 83-29 in the first half of their past 3 home games. Okay, they're giving up 5-point yards a rush. This historical trend means that the Cowboys' talent advantage is probably worth something against the Giants in a short week. So sure, it's worth trusting history, but that means you expect the Giants to not be able to cover, to not get to the quarterback with 4 rushers, because Dallas, you're not going to expect Dallas's defense to turn around in this short week. They rush the quarterback. They don't do anything else well, and they're an undisciplined team. Rex Ryan says they're playing like hot garbage. I tend to agree with that. But their talent on the field, there's a big gap between these 2 teams.
Well, and that should tell you something, because quite frankly, the Giants should be 2-1 right now. If they had a kicker in week 2, they beat the Commanders, no question. Okay, and obviously they just came off an impressive performance winning at Cleveland. So based on merit, the Giants being at home, you'd think they should be favored, right? So the fact that the Cowboys are a 4.5-point favorite should tell you something about their relative strength between these 2 teams, the relative talent levels. I do think you're hitting on something
including
else.
The Giants' schedule, by the way. Giants were kind of impressive, but couldn't get a touchdown against the Commanders, right? And but they showed the talent gap showed up against Minnesota. It wasn't supposed to be that big a difference between those 2 teams.
Sure, but what I think, look, the one thing we've learned early in this season is that we can't tell anything week to week. Underdogs are doing great against the money line. Unexpected things are happening every week, okay? So I don't know that the result of this game is going to follow any sort of pattern. What I do think is you nailed one portion of the game that should follow a pattern, which is this: the Cowboys' run defense. 557 yards allowed in 3 games, 5.4 yards per carry allowed, just a disaster. And meanwhile, the Giants have a functional offensive line for the first time in like a decade, okay? So if I feel good about
there's surprise in your voice when you say that. It is rather shocking.
I don't know what to do. So
I don't either. I know, yeah.
If there's one bet I like, then it's taking Devin Singletary's rushing prop over 61.5 yards right now at DraftKings at minus 110. He's averaging over that on the season. He's averaging 4.7 yards a pop. Yes, they're starting to work Tyrone Tracy in a little more. Yes, Daniel Jones will vulture some rushing yards, but I suspect the Giants will look to keep the ball on the ground in this game and exploit that huge hole the Cowboys have shown to the league and keep hammering them on the run until they adjust.
Look, I asked you if there were lines yet on Tyrone Tracy's rushing total, and there are not. I like Singletary. I like, you got to look at the individual bets on guys like Theo Johnson or Malik Neighbors, but Singletary is a good bet to gash this Dallas front. Sure.